because I've been working on Italian American studies for the past 45 years, and
It's appropriate, right?
we are in a crisis, I think, that our past will be forgotten if we don't do something about it. And, well, the American Italian Historical Association, and now its successor, the Italian American Studies Association, has scholars who make careers at universities writing about Italian American things. And that's good, that's excellent on a macro basis. But what about the stories of our families? What about the individual families in the future? Will your grandchildren know or care about the immigrant story of their family, of their grandparents or great-grandparents or whatever? We stand to lose that, and we have organizations, clubs that carry on some traditions, but it's not done in an organized way, or in and clubs can come and go. The Maroons Club, which was really strong, it was a soccer organization, was a very strong club, but it's gone. They knocked down the headquarters, and they split up the money, and they went. All of that work and tradition for that club. And then you look at Italian Americans and their marriage patterns. Well, they don't necessarily, or maybe they, I don't know the exact figures, but certainly not more than half of Italian Americans marry other Italian Americans. We're in a mixed world. And so the family traditions, where are they going to come from? They're going to be lost and weakened. So we have it in our power and our responsibilities to save our stories, to preserve our family history, to preserve the perspective. I go crazy when I see these people with Italian last names railing against immigration as if it were the worst thing in the world. Come on! We were there. We were discriminated against. We were considered racially inferior. Slurs and a negative image were a constant for our people for many years. And we also had the experience of World War II, of being from an enemy nation in World War II. So that didn't increase our popularity much either. So I want people, my grandchildren, to know where they came from, and I'm sure you do too. And I'm looking around the room, and I'm wondering who's going to be the 1 or the 5 or the 10 or the 20 who actually go ahead and write a history and get it published on Amazon. And you're pointing fingers, good. You should, and if you don't do it, you should feel guilty, because I'm contributing all of my energy, and if you don't come through, I'll have to come back and haunt you. So this is a strategy for saving our stories, for knowing who we are, for valuing the Italian American experience and the traditions. So before we start, I would like to go around the room and ask you to identify yourself, and in a minute or two, tell me how you're going to fulfill my dreams. And you know, where you're getting that book at a cut price, whether I've invested in that author's copy price well in you. So let's start here with my great friend Mary Lou.
So my name is Mary Lou Bacci, and the reason I'm sitting here is because of Dominic. Many years ago, he wrote The Italians in Chicago, and my niece and his daughter went to school together, college, and he got a lot of our pictures and our history, and he started it, and he got it in print, and that gave me the want to go on and do a little bit of the genealogy. And now, like with this book, as we've talked, you know, getting pictures and putting things, because the next generation won't know. So I hope to do what you set forth for us.
Okay, next.
Hi everyone, my name is Rosalie. Many Rosalies in my family, so tradition was carried a lot. But I need to know more. My cousins started having family reunions, and everyone brought pictures. And everyone, but we realized we didn't know the whole story. We saw pictures. Who are these people? Where did they come? When did they come? So I'm here to learn more and how to do it.
Okay, if you ever want unidentified photographs, come to the Italian Cultural Center, because we've got millions of them. Try to when photos cross your desk, try to identify them with the 5 W's: who, what, where, why, and when. Next.
Tom Knesny. I am not Italian. I am a member.
That's okay.
I am a member of the Sicilian Band of Chicago. And one of the things I love to see is one of my grandchildren keep up the tradition.
Yeah, we need not just the story of families, but the story of institutions, maybe of churches, of the band itself. We have one of our volunteers, Jeff Gentile, a dentist, is writing the history of the Arcolian Society, a society of Italian American dentists in Chicago, and how they worked together from the 1930s onward to kind of support each other in a particular profession. So building up that social capital. Here's the king of social capital is back there, Lou Corsino, and one of the ways that Italian Americans got ahead was through the organizations that they had, through the paesani networks, the family networks that they had, and we'll talk more about that later. Martin, you've already done it.
I have done the first step. Now I'm looking to do the second one. So I wrote, I'm the co-author of a book, you can see it over at the library, about one of my great-grandparents who was abandoned at the hospital in Genova, which was a very common thing. So I'm partly interested in the phenomenon of the esposti, the abandoned children, and also I would like to reconstruct something of the life of my great-grandparents, who were the ones who emigrated from Italy to Argentina. So a lot to do, many ideas, and Dominic is an constant inspiration.
And Steve Fiorentino, a leading retired lawyer.
My name is Steve Fiorentino. I came from Sicily in 1960. I was 15 years old. I got all kinds of jobs. I could go to school. At DePaul University, I was a member of the Alpha Phi Delta, the only Italian fraternity. And then when I got there, so I met Mr. Sorrentino, who got me to the Joint Civic Committee, and then eventually I'm a past president of the Joint Civic Committee. And I always tell my kids that they should be proud of their background, and I brought them to Sicily when I was born. And I hope that one day soon we'll write a book about that.
Okay, well, very good. Writing your own personal autobiography is a legitimate thing. Who knows more about you than you? And we've done it, helped people do it by doing interviews, long interviews with an iPhone. If you do an interview, you can interview yourself if you need to, but you can interview anybody else in your family as a source for your book. And what you can do with the file is you can upload it to YouTube as a private file, and YouTube automatically creates a transcript of what was said in whatever video you upload. And it will, you can download that or just copy that transcript and put it into your Word file, and you'll have to do a lot of editing, the ums and ahs out of it, but you have a basis for doing your story. We've done that with several individuals. We've helped them. We have with us Jason. Is Jason? Oh, Jason. Jason, tell a little bit about the couple of autobiographies we helped
come
do.
through, Paul Ciminello, Frank,
Frank Cesario.
Cesario. Of course, Mark Martin's working on his book. CJ has written several books about his neighborhood in Pullman. John has written books about the Sasano neighborhood. They've all come through in one way or another through the Casa Publishing wing here. And then of course we redid the Italian Women in Chicago. We updated that book. We did which one was the one that was in the Italian?
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, we've done a lot of books. Sometimes we just redid the books that we had published before when we ran out of them. And sometimes we've used the oral history transcripts to create autobiographies that people have done. We are a publishing empire here. We've got about 20 different titles that we've run through, and Jason has been our mainstay there, organizing the material for sending up to Amazon and then getting the thing published on Amazon. So we go from ideas or memories or transcripts and pictures to an actual book. And we want the books out there because even though some people would like to burn books, some people would like to ban books, books have a way of lasting, and it's even if the power goes out, you can read your book in the sunshine. So they're there. And we're also old-fashioned. We can't imagine anything new. Next.
Kathy DiNiccolo, and I'm here today because I think this is a great family project. You know, drawing cousins, aunts, uncles together to help create this story. My cousin tells me that she has like 5 boxes of things that she's collected over the years, that she's inherited from one generation to another. So before that's all thrown out, it would be a great holiday activity to pull these things out and begin sorting them out in some way. And I happen to think that these stories they're very positive and they're very life affirming, and in our very dark times, I think that we need more stories from the Italian American community and how how they survive tough times. That's what I'm doing here.
Yeah, well, this Thanksgiving, instead of football for 7 hours, do a little bit of reminiscing, maybe taping or video recording that can contribute to, or have everyone bring 5 pictures that are identified and that can help you write your history. Next, Linda?
Yes, I'm Linda Capozello, and I'm here because my family is losing their the history. When I was younger, I was brought up by my grandparents. They took me to Sicily with them. I was like 12 or 13 years old, and I have that image in my head. And they took me all over where they were born, and they were orphans, and they were brought up in the convent, and it was very touching for me, and I think it led me all my life to study of foreign languages, in Latin-based languages, and now that I'm here, I don't want to lose you guys. I just am so happy that I found a place where there are my people in a lot of, it's very important to keep that heritage going, because a lot of my family members have, like you said, Dominic, married all these different nationalities, and they didn't want to hear about it. And I said, well, I'm going to do it then. I'm the one who's going to have to tell the story. However, the only thing is, I don't have all these fascinating stories to tell about becoming famous. That didn't happen in my family.
That you know of.
Okay, well, that's one thing. When I was growing up, history was what? And probably when some of you were growing up, history was what? The order of the presidents, the generals, the Civil War, the generals in the Civil War. It was about the elite, the people who had invented things, the unusual. And so, I don't know, we just have a normal family, and my father goes to work, he's a laborer, and where do we fit in here? We're not part of history, but indeed we are. And historians have sort of changed their focus to a more sociological paradigm. And so the history of women, the history of minorities, the history of the labor movement, all of these that maybe wouldn't have captured attention in the past and be seen as legitimate history, are now flourishing, and we can add to that. We indeed are a part of history, and we need to pass that on. Jacques, you want to tell us a little bit about your situation?
Yes, my name is Jacques Menez, so Jacques is a French name. My father was French, my mother was Italian, and her family really suffered a death. So she was brought up with a step family, and they were in Italian radio, but they were from New York, so they came to Chicago late. So there has, to my knowledge, been no book written about Italian radio in Chicago, or why the people from New York coming to Chicago setting up radio, and that would be a big project.
Well, maybe you could find a tape or something, a missing tape that represents old-time radio. And one of the ways that Italians and all other ethnic groups adjusted to American society was by having their own media. And that meant their own radio in the 1930s and 40s and into the 50s. Italian language radio flourished in Chicago, New York, and in other places, and became a way of people learning Italian. I mean, the people who spoke only dialects, maybe learning a little bit of Italian from the announcers who played a little bit better. Okay, next, Lou, you're a professional.
I'm from Chicago Heights.
Heights, so I think I'm just gonna use Dominic's and change some of the names. There used to be a joke, Tom Dreesen, the comedian, used to say, there's Chicago Heights, 35,000 people and 5 families. So I'm sure Dominic and I are related somewhere along the line, one of the in-laws somewhere. But in some of the stuff that I've done, but Dominic obviously is inspiration to this sort of stuff, and he's put together, you know, letters and things, and I done some interviews with my father and other people, and what I found interesting is not only the substantive stuff that they talk about, but actually the interviews, to hear the interviews in terms of life. It brings back in some ways a sense of, there's a dialect, there's a way that sort of, even hearing people who have passed away speak, brings back somewhat of the traditions and how the broken English. So I find not only what they say is important, but the manner in which they say it has also been sort of, I embrace that too. So I love the idea of the project.
Okay, just in case you'd like to hear oral history interviews, we here at Casa Italia have hundreds of tapes of oral history interviews, and also you can go to our website and listen to them in your underwear at home. And you can hear them, maybe they have some similarities with the people that you're interested in, or not, or whatever. They can be used for comparison if you have a whole lot of time. And then, Joyce, are you there in the back?
I am. I'm sorry. I was late.
You're getting detention for that, but.
Well, I didn't get a book, so I guess that's my punishment.
Oh,
Temporary.
okay.
Out of them.
Okay. Tell us about your idea of doing family history.
Okay. Well, have done as much as I can, not enough, of my family history. And my mother is 95 years old. I'm lucky to still have her, and I'm always bombarding her with questions and trying to make little videos. But there's so many things about my father's family that I don't know that I wish I did. I'm finding I'm meeting so many of my second, third cousins on my father's family mostly. And we try to think, okay, well, your grandfather with his brother was who? So I really want to get all of that as straight as I can, all the lines, within my family history.
Okay.
And I just love getting to know all of them.
Okay, well, if your mom is still remembers things well, that's certainly take advantage of that resource. And then she was in business for many years, Dolores LaFlores.
Absolutely.
And advertisements and promotions and events that she played a role in were probably recorded. Maybe they're in the newspapers. You can look them up. And okay, Jason's got some show and tell.
Yeah, I've got some show and tell here, some things we've done. Myself, I'm working on a history of Italians in Italy. I'll talk to you later. But these are some of the books that have been published here. We redid the Italians, restructuring the Italians in Chicago. And these are all on the rack in the library and for sale. This story about Italians in sports, the plaster migration. This is a reprint of Sal's book, WAP. Paul Ciminello's biography. This one's in Italian in Chicago.
That's my Italians in Chicago.
Of course, Martine's book here. A couple other examples here, Italian actors and another family history.
Yeah, this is the Volini family, and this is an example of family history that you might want to take. And what it does is devotes a certain number of pages to every individual or every branch of the family. And it does it in a very methodical way. Everyone gets their space. It's like selling an ad book and maybe they did go to the people who were most involved, and they said, okay, you write up your story, give me 1,000 words and 5 pictures. and we'll put them in there. So it's more of a dictionary type of thing, or instead of being a more organic story or scrapbook approach. This is sort of it's a cooperative thing, and it's a more institutional way of going about doing your family. And that might work in your family. You go around and just make assignments at Thanksgiving and say they're due at Christmas. And in Word and with perfectly scanned pictures, with captions, you send them to me and I'll put them together. So that's another approach. Let's go to hear this.
My name is Debbie, and my mother, her parents immigrated from Italy. My father was Bohemian. So in researching both sides, you know, it takes a lot of time, and it's like a jigsaw puzzle. I'm trying to put the little pieces together. So I'm getting there, but everything I learned, I'm still learning. I have quite a bit, but I'm still learning and trying to reach out to people. And my grandmother, it must have been my mother was kind of quiet, and I think my grandmother was discouraged from chatting a lot. And at the time I was young, and like I would have loved to spend a lot of time interviewing her. She would have loved to talk, but she didn't. So now I'm just trying to put together all the pieces.
Yeah, some people talk a lot and some people don't. Some people talk a lot, don't say much.
Right.
You have to filter all that kind of stuff.
And my grandfather's father was abandoned. So that's always interesting. Abandoned, yeah. So I do have that, you know, I worked with at the Naperville Family Search, Linda Davenport was there, and she was very good with, she took some time off because she's running for a judge, but she was very good, and so she taught me a lot. But, yeah, it's just, you can't let go, you just keep doing it. It's
Okay.
slow.
Okay, well, we all know how much we love genealogy.
Yeah.
But I love it only so much.
Yeah.
And I know enough to maybe get myself in trouble when I'm working with it. But I can print screen a genealogical chart or the information on a family search and throw it in the book and let people make the most of it, maybe with a little caption. So that's just one element, but look for sources where you can find them. It could be anywhere in your family's house. Next.
Okay, my name's Chip. I have one brother and my parents were passed. I got 3 kids and grandkids, and I'm the only one interested in genealogy. So I'm doing this for myself.
Okay, well, not just for yourself, but for all the people who come after you.
Oh, they will. They'll eventually want all of that
They'll
information.
show up.
Make
Yeah,
sure it's
my
all
brother
there.
says, yes, send it to me. Yeah, well, guess what? It isn't done yet. So, anyway, we're digging deep, making a lot of progress, but always more to find.
Okay, next we have a father and son team.
My name is Anthony Venturella. I'm here to try and figure out my family's history so I can probably try and write my own book.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm also Anthony Venturella, a senior, and I was lucky enough to do some research and get paperwork together to, 'cause we had lost everything and kind of proceed with the Italian citizenship process and got that accepted at the consulate and things like that. So, but with all that, I still don't really have a lot of pictures, don't really have a lot of the stories tied behind how they got here, what they did. I mean, I have a ship record, but that's about it, you know, kind of deal and things like that. So, trying to tie some more together and see where they fit in and their stories.
Okay, well, that's very good. You have stuff to play with. And, you know, applying for Italian citizenship does put you on a search for a dozen different documents that you could probably use as a basis for your family history. So that's a good incentive. Next.
Hi, I'm Gina. I'm second and fourth generation. I'm one who married a German, had my son. I'm just gathering data to compile a book like this, so.
Okay.
I'm Frank. I'm a volunteer here. So I also do a Italian American podcast. I do Italian American videos. I just try to keep things alive and knowledge alive for the future.
And well, tell them about the venture, picture project you did a few years back.
Quite a few years ago, Costco had a thing where you could make like a picture book, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And I know nothing technology, and especially back then, but somehow, you know, you could put text. I thought that was really cool, and I made this book for my kids about their grandparents. I don't think it's been appreciated yet, but maybe someday it might be, truthfully speaking.
And your other publication venture?
The kids' books?
Yeah.
I've written 3 children's books as well, and I kind of make them a little introduction to Italian, like words and some cultural things, and even traveling to Italy, you know, on a child's level. But you know, I like doing that, hoping that some of this stuff sinks in.
And the hero in all these books is the Italian family.
Yes, yeah, it's about an Italian family, Italian American family, and you know, one trip they go to Italy, one trip dad goes, you know, all kinds of things like that. And I'm gonna keep doing more because I'm hoping that, you know, with the future generation that it makes a difference.
Lisa?
Hi, I'm Lisa Botalo Ryan. My father was born in Sicily, and I find personally that his generation came here and obviously tried to assimilate and didn't care about going back in the past. And now I'm trying to dig back there with my mom and my sister, because my father never went back. And I have 2 boys, 2 sons, and I always tell them, like, they grew up with Simba, the Lion King, so I always tell them, remember who you are and where you came from. So I'm trying to instill that in them, so I want to follow through with this.
Very good.
Hi, I'm Sabina. I was born in Italy, came over on a boat back in 1958.
Oh.
And yes, I've been doing a lot of research, you know, getting the family records together and whatnot, because I was only 7 when I came over, and of course, you know, parents don't tell you a whole lot about who your families are. But this past summer, I took my son and his family back to Italy to introduce them where I was born.
That's beautiful.
Hi, I am Vivian Gari Alvarez. I am from San Marino. I have been able to trace my ancestry as a former librarian. I realize how daunting this whole research is, how limiting it is, how many doors do close, because a lot of publications are not allowed in this country. Okay, so, and I've also tried to instill this on my son, teaching him Italian. We speak Italian at home constantly. And in doing also the citizenship for him, I realized that there are also other doors that are challenging. For instance, I have to prove the Italian citizenship from some ancestors. And now that becomes a daunting research as well. In looking for materials for him to read that are by Italians or Italian Americans, that gets very lost. So I'm very interested in your work.
Oh, okay.
Very difficult to find authenticity. We can find it in restaurants, we find recipes, but we don't find the book.
Yeah, if you type Italian American in Google, you have to go through 200 restaurants before you get to the topic of Italians in America.
Yes, so recently my brother was in Italy, not where I'm from, he was somewhere else, but that's fine. I said, get me materials from Italy, smuggle them, and he did. The difference it makes to find that material here for my son to see it, it's like the door opening for him to identify. And so that's my story, that's why I'm here.
Very good, yes?
Roberto Bertucci. I'm not just first generation, very first one born here. I didn't learn English until kindergarten. And so I continue to speak Italian. I've been in Italy 17 times. My mother and father were from a small town in Tuscany, met during World War II, hiding in the mountains because our town was occupied by Nazis. And they eventually came here in the 50s with my older brother and sister, had me, and we were from Our Lady of the Angels Parish, which many of you may remember fondly and sadly. And we were there, when the fire occurred in '58. Ultimately moved as part of the Western Migration, Elmwood Park, and like Steve, I'm a member of the Joint Civic Committee of Italian Americans. Steve's a past president. I'm just a lifetime member. But we're also fellow members of the Justinian Society of Lawyers and Judges, and I'm a past president. As far as going forward, I have 3 half Italian, 3 half Ukrainian grandchildren, and 2 half Italian, 2 Irish grandchildren. They call me Nonno, so that's a start. And my son's promised me that we'll send the kids to learn to speak Italian, and I said, well, to give them extra incentive, I said I'd pay for it. So this will
We
be
have programs here for children.
yeah, and my 2 sons, when they were younger, came here for Italian classes, actually. So this will inspire me to pursue that and more based on the work you do, Dominic. So thank you.
Okay. Well, next we have the person who shall remain nameless for now.
I get 60 seconds, is
Mystery
that?
Okay, 60 seconds.
Mystery guest.
Mystery guest, yeah. What's my line? Okay, I'm Dan Nemec, for those of you who have seen me here before or haven't seen me here before. And I've been researching my genealogy and to some extent family history for about 30 years. And the difficulty is that my Italian grandfather left the family, so I got nothing from him about what it was like coming over and all that. Basically, I started doing my research the minute the last Italian immigrant in my family died, like that hour, And so my timing's kind of poor. And we had my grandfather had a young sister. We lost her last November at just short of 101, and I picked that poor woman's brain for everything it was worth. Not everything she said is the truth. But I got so that's one of the when you get to talk to somebody, you got to funnel everything through a little bit of a coffee filter. But I have contributed. I have not written my definitive book. Probably when I retire, but I got to live long enough to retire. And but I helped my cousin write a book about he wrote it about his business career and his father's business career, and he included me in it to set the tone with all of the history of the family and how little they were and how little educated back in Italy and all that stuff. And we found every picture that we could scrounge and put it in the book. So at least I contributed to a book. Someday I'll contribute to mine, but I have to keep it down to under 2,700 pages.
Yeah. Well, Dan has teed up this presentation, and in fact, I certainly wouldn't have written this book without running into Dan and going to the seminars that he did beginning of the year, 23, and the many different suggestions and sources and approaches that I used to go back to my understanding for me. Anything I did wrong was my own doing. If I did anything right in genealogy, it's his doing. Next?
My name is Gina Calolo. We haven't really started anything yet. We have lots of photographs and some documents, but not a lot of information. So I'm just here to learn.
Okay, I'm going to run through the book. I hope we can read it together, and I'll explain the the backstory of each page ad nauseum for you today. Maybe you can gain some ideas for your folks. Next.
My name's Allison. I have always loved family stories, so even from a young age, I always wanted to be like right there in the thick of all the conversations. So my cousins probably thought I was weird that I didn't want to play with them. But I've been researching, so to speak, for a long, long time. And now with all these resources, I've been able to meet cousins that I've DNA matched with. And so it's just kind of exploded into this huge, beautiful story. So I will write the book.
Okay. Well, you'll be the one. Well, I'm sure that you know that the computer revolution, the internet revolution has brought us a lot of bad things. All the pornography anybody can ever, more than they can digest. All of the misinformation that is peddled on social media. But the one good thing that it has done is made it possible to research your family history in a much more effective way than in the past. And as I said, you can do a lot of this in your underwear at home. And yes.
What I want to say that we should thank all the people that kept it together. Like I see Lisa, her whole family, the brothers, they were very active with the Judiciary Committee. The gentleman did say that he was one of the few Italian elected judges, Judge Bertucci. And there's so many like Tony Matala, Dr. Rubenelli, and my predecessor, and Father Freccia. I want to give him a thank you because he started this and kept us, many of us young people here from Italy, kind of go the straight way and kept us, make sure that, you know, we were proud of being Italian. Yeah. Even though we had a lot of, you know, people, what's the word I can't think of, calling us Dago and things like that. I remember in school when I went to Weber, grammar school, I was 15 years old and they put me in second grade. Because I didn't speak the language. Right. Yeah. So I was always 2 years behind. But you know, my parents, even though they never went to school, they always pushed me to go to school. So all those people that kept our tradition together, that's what brings us here today, I think.
Yeah, the glass is half full. And there are Italian institutions like the Casa Italia, the Italian Cultural Center. We're working to preserve it in a formal way, and the organizations do it in a social way. Okay, well, what I intend to do now is simply go page. I could get ad nauseum, but I'll try and keep it as lively as I could. I'll tell you, I'll point out all the mistakes, and that was one of the things that I did was to pass the draft around before it was published, and even after the first one was published. I gave it to family members and said, okay, read it over and give me the corrections. And they gave me a ton of them, and I did the corrections. And that's another thing about publishing on Amazon. You can always update your text on Amazon. And I'll get to one of the big updates that I've got to do when we come to it. But let's just start. This is the front page of the book, the cover of the book, has this collage on it. And it's a simple collage. I just took most of the pictures that are in the book and put them in this collage program and said, make me a collage. And then it asks you, do you like it this way? Do you want me to reshuffle? And I reshuffled it a couple of times, and as long as my sister Angie in the center there, in the red dress, that's her graduation photograph, as long as she came out prominent enough, I thought it was a good collage. And so, so there we go on that one. And if I could figure out how to go from page to page, we can do it. And then we publish this by the Casa Italia library. I didn't go and grovel to anybody. We are the Casa Italia library, and we did it. And the person who did the technical stuff was Jason, and thank God for Jason. And especially thank God for Jason. I was going to Italy on the 19th of June, and I wanted to share this family history with family members in Italy. And so I needed to get the books published so I could take them there. And I was running out of time, and I called up Jason, and we spent about 4 hours on the telephone and got all the tricks fixed. And we got the thing in time, and it got published and sent to me, and I took them with me to Italy. So Jason and I had us off to for that. And I want to tell you that we're here to help you. If we can help get your book published, if we can help with whatever technical thing of taking it from Word. And by the way, I hope that all of you have some skill in Word, the app, the text app. So that's all you really need. You can put your pictures where you want them, and that sort of thing, and text where you want them. Then it has to go to PDF, and then from PDF you upload it to the system, the Amazon system. And there's an ISBN number. The ISBN number is very important. Amazon gives it to you for free. You can buy it for $100, but the one that Amazon gives to you will always identify your book as being privately published. So if you don't want to appear to be published by a vanity press or be privately published, so you can pay the $100. Otherwise, I didn't pay the $100. You can put a picture of yourself, and you can make a statement like I've done. And the thing is, I have, this is an explanation of how I did it, the various sources. Family search is free all the time, free. And if you put somebody's name in the search bar, it'll give you 10 or 15 records on that person right off the bat. You can go from there. You can build your family tree by just taking that information and entering it. It's pretty easy navigation in the family search. If you'd like to pay Ancestry all that money, go ahead. And then I try to defend myself. I obviously focus on the people I knew the best and my own family, and my apologies to other family members if I left them out or important stuff about them out. But I challenge them to give me the information, because on Amazon, you can update always. And if you've got a page that you want to contribute to this family history, I can do it. So then my thanks to Jason and also to my wife Carol. Carol did some old-fashioned scrapbooking of photographs, and at one point in the book I simply scanned her pages and stuck them in with her notations, and that seemed to work. And then also at the end, I went to that system of giving each family a page. Your family has a page, I told my daughter, Anne, and you put 5 pictures on it and write, have 500 words about your family history, and I'll put it in as is. And that's what happened on that. Okay, and I give them some technical information. Now, this is a preliminary family tree as a, what do they call this layout?
Just to interrupt you, just briefly, Dominic, if anybody has a question about the family search or the attendees, they can check with Dan later, because he's quite knowledgeable about those 2 websites that have the records and the information.
Yeah, and of course, there's the Italian equivalent of family search, which is called Antenati, ancestors. And well, from the material that I entered from my research into the family tree, it generated this kind of spectrum family tree, and with me as the center of it, which is fine with me, and my parents and my grandparents on both sides, and then it goes further back and further back. So that's a kind of an introduction. And these are some things that I just stole from Antenati in the middle here. This is a record of my grandparents, their wedding in 1894 on March 10th. And so and this has who their parents were, and so it brings us back to a couple more generations. In Italy, I invited, we were in Italy in the last half of June of this year, and we invited our relatives in Abruzzo to come to our Airbnb, where we hosted them with a pizza and beer party, and we handed out copies of the book, and we told them about this family history. So it's all the grandchildren of Nicola and Angela from 1894 that were brought together in Abruzzo in 2023. Well, not all of them, but that was the base. And they were very receptive to it. And we exchanged information or contact information, and we intend to work together in the future. And then here is the explanation. Here above is a record from the Antenati website, and I use that quite a bit. And then this is material that came later, going back to about to another Lodovico Candeloro, not my father, but an ancestor of my father, and going back to the birth year of 1804. So there we go. And the first thing I did was some geographical thing. The title of the book is the Candeloro-Giannetti family history from central Italy to Chicago Heights. And well, I don't know if any of you know where Chicago Heights is. It's off the south end of the earth for most Chicagoans. But it happens to be where the immigrants from Amazzano, my mother's hometown, my grandfather Lorenzo was the immigrant from there to Chicago Heights. And then my father's hometown of Casali, they're not very that far apart, maybe 100 miles as the crow flies, but no crows fly there because there are mountains in between, and it's too high. So I did a little bit of a look at the two towns of origin, and this is the downtown of Casali, my father's hometown, and this is a 2019 picture of our family visiting our first cousins, our relatives in Casali. So there's a little bit about these origins, the towns of origin, and I picked up a lot of that information, right off of their website, but also we had many visits there. And then these are pictures of the various visits that we took, that took place with members of the Candeloro family. And this is can you see it? This is the house that my father was born in, and he was born in 1898. So we cover the Casali family, and a lot of these pictures here are taken from my wife Carol's scrapbook collection that she did in the 1970s when we first went there. And so then the book takes up the Amazzano origin, and this little town of Amazzano in Lazio is about 45 minutes away from Rome. It has a church that was built in 1170, if you can imagine that. And going into that church, the entryway is worn out. There's a big hole there because 7 or 8 centuries of people have been going into that church that way. And then this is a modern visit to the mayor's office in Amazzano from yet another family history. So and then a little paragraph about this and that. And it so happened that a major personage in this town was my grandfather's sister. Her name was Filomena Petrangeli in Ruggeri. And this is a house that she owned in the square. They were rather prosperous, maybe some of the most prosperous people in town. This is their 50th wedding anniversary. And they had sent pictures back and forth. And when I visited them in Italy in the 1970s, they had photographs of me and members of my family that I didn't know existed. And so it tells you a story of the continuity of interaction. And my grandfather left there in 1900, and and then this stuff, these are just screenshots that were taken from the family search and sort of patched together to tell the story of our relatives in Amazzano, and most of their names are Ruggeri because that's the person that our Filomena married and had many children with, and they're all named Jerry. And then this is my grandfather's first visit to America. There's one that says 1883, but that can't be possible. We have him as a 24-year-old in 1900. Anyhow, I just took a screenshot of the Ellis Island material. I blew it up a little bit, then I highlighted it in yellow, and we got this. And then my grandfather had a little notation on it that his destination was on West Taylor Street in Chicago. And so, and then it mentions his brother Giacinto. I had never heard of Giacinto. Although he was my, well, I'm not sure what he would be, my great uncle or something. Yeah, a great uncle. So I learned about my grandfather's brother by doing this research. And some of the other stuff, these, here's the information about Giacinto. He was going back and forth and back and forth. He went, we have 3 or 4 records of his. And then this next item is my grandfather's citizenship papers. In those days, he got his citizenship at the court in Chicago Heights. And it was pretty easy to do this. You didn't have to go through all of the steps that you now have to do through the naturalization service. And an interesting part of this is his name. His name is Giannetti, but the court recorder wrote down Jeanette as the first name, woman's first name, Jeanette. So years later that had to be explained, but it does tell you something about the cultural gap between the Italians and the Americans. And this is a birth certificate, atti di nascita. And the name of the person, Giannetta Yolanda. That's 1909, my mother was born, and this is the record in Amazano of her birth, and with the various stamps and the various notations here. Usually it was the father and maybe another witness who would go to the village hall and to declare that the birth had taken place and what the name of the child was, the exact time of it, and so forth. So, and then this is 2019. This is my one branch of my. This is my daughter Ann's family. They're in front of the house that my mother was born in. It didn't look like that when she was born. It had different window treatments and railings, but it was on the Via dell'Ospedale, the road, the street of the hospital. And then I've got some quotes here of my grandchildren and my son-in-law on the experience of visiting that site. And here we have my grandfather left. Went back and forth to Italy 2 or 3 times. In 1909, he went for good, and this was about the time that my mother was born, and in 1914, my mother and her mother and several others followed in their migration to Chicago. And here is my grandmother's passport, and I've read some of the detail there, and here we highlighted here is Maria. Okay, this is Maria Giannetti. This is my great aunt, Maria Giannetti, and her niece, who was an orphan. And so there's information about their status. This is the back of the passport that had more detail in it about their relationship. It so happened that my great aunt, Zia Maria, took with her her name is Felicia, who was the daughter of the dead Antonio, and raised her until she got married. And these are some other, these are taxes paid. My grandfather kept in, had some land that he owned in Amazano, and he kept, he paid the property taxes each year through his sister. And I'm not sure. And then here's a blank page. And I got a lot of mileage out of blank pages. And with the notation, fill in below any additional information that you might have about the migration of the Giannetti family from Amazano. So there I go. If I haven't included it all, well, you tell me your story, and we'll include it on the next story. Next, it helps to have friends, and the next section is in Italian, and I was helped by Lucio Bosco, one of our steadfast volunteers here, and he obtained for me my father's service record. All of this is information about what regiment he was in, where he served, when he was discharged, and a whole bunch of other information that he did come to this country as a stowaway. He actually came twice. I just have new information. When I wrote this version of it, the explanation was he went to Cuba and then came to the U.S. in 1925 in August as a stowaway with no money, and they somehow let him in. But no, they didn't. I found out with this later batch of information that they didn't let him in. They deported him back to Cuba. But 2 weeks later, according to new information that I have, he came right back, and they didn't stop him. And so he just went on, and that migration was for good. But it would come back to haunt him because he was without papers. And I got from the Kansas City office of immigration, hundreds of pages of information about hearings that took place during the World War II, during the 1940s, about my father's status as an illegal immigrant at that time. And it's quite interesting. I'll add it in the next version that I do. So, this, even though it's in Italian, this will appeal to, of course, my relatives in Italy. It tells, but most of this is repeated in English somewhere in the text a little bit later. So the family history at this point focuses a lot on my dad, and this is him probably in his 80s, and then I've got a rundown on the branch of the my Italian family in Casali, in Abruzzo. And here is the wedding act of matrimony. It's the record of the 1894 wedding of Dominico Candeloro and Angela Ornalicio. And there's a lot of detail, and it indicates that both of them were illiterate, and that they were a contadino and a contadina, respectively, small farmers. Okay. And here is my father's birth certificate, and 1898, 1105, they say he was born. And then there's information in it about who was there, who were witness, came to the village hall to register the birth, etc. And then here I just stole this part from Wikipedia. It's a description of Casali in Abruzzo, and then a lot of pictures, and this is the church that's nearest to the Contrada of Ripitella that my father was from. And now this is an interesting document. I got a letter in 2001 from, I think his name is Dominic Candeloro. But this is Dominic Candeloro, lives in Australia. And he had a rundown in English. Thank God the Australians speak English. And this is a rundown of all the children of my grandparents, and a little bit about them. So I just printed this to give an idea of who was in that family. And then we go to, this is my grandfather, my grandmother, and these are the family search records of, I had to import each one of these, but this is a family search listing of who their children are. Again, here's the name of the contrada outside of Casali where they live, and this is the home, the original Candeloro home. This is a little festival that they have there, and this is the view that they have of Mount Bayella. And these are, this is my father's family, my father's service record from from World War I. He being born in 1898. By the time of World War II, World War I, he was just the right age to be drafted, and so he was. He entered in February 1917, and went on until he was finally released in 1920. Some more documents. A lot of years later, in the 1980s, the Italian government decided to give a bronze cross to the veterans of World War I, and this is his application for the cross. And this is the medal that he has, and I wear that medal at Christmas time, so it shows that I served in World War I.
Okay.
Again, a blank page. And now we introduce Chicago Heights. Meanwhile, back in Chicago Heights, period before the war, we have, this is the signature. I couldn't get a good photograph of this thing, but this is in the Amazano Society Hall. They have the charter of the organization as it was signed in 1913. And my grandfather's name is down here or something like that. And I was able to take a close-up of it. Gianetta Lorenzo, this is his signature, as one of the founding members of the society. So also, where you can find a good deal of information about people is with the registration for the draft. My grandfather, though he didn't serve in World War I, had to register for the draft in World War I. And this is the registration card that showed his basic information, where he lived, when he was born, what his workplace, his relatives, etc., his wife, and so that's a good document for getting some verifying basic information.
So where would you get that, Dominic?
Doesn't Family Search give you?
For the draft card, yeah, I think that's on both Ancestry and Family Search.
Okay.
And then the first time that they appeared in the census was in 1920. The Giannetti family, they lived at 101 East 23rd Street. I still own that building, for better or for worse. And it showed Lorenzo as a 42-year-old factory laborer who arrived in the U.S. in 1900, was naturalized in 1905 as Jeanette, and he was who his wife was. Daughter Yolanda was 10 years old. Antonio, so and they had 3 boarders. Well, I don't know where they put those boarders, but I think it was in the basement. And this is the name of the 3 boarders and their occupations. And my sister Angie, when I mentioned the boarders, she said, "Oh, I think that was George. George ran a store, and his nickname was something like God Damn." I don't know what the hell that means, but we saved that for future generations to know that George's nickname was God Damn.
Dominic, I just have a quick question. I don't know if this is personal or not, but how did your new immigrant stowaway get enough money to buy a house?
Okay, no, this was my grandfather. My father was the stowaway, and it didn't happen until 1925. So, well, I'm not sure. There is a story about, there was one banker in town who dealt with Italians, although he himself was not Italian, and he told me personally once that he never lost a dime on lending to Italians to buy houses. So I think, but he would have been in the country. My grandfather came in 1900 originally, and he did a little bit back and forth, and this is 1920, and they had lived with other relatives previous to that, And I don't know if, this is a good question. In 1920, were people buying houses with mortgages, 30-year mortgages, the way we do today?
No, I doubt it. Yeah, I think they were. My grandparents had worked.
Yeah, so that's something to look into. And there was one story my grandfather told me that during Prohibition, I didn't put it in here, but during Prohibition, the bootleggers wanted to use his basement. And he said, okay, deposit $10,000 in the bank and you can have it. And the price was too high. At least he didn't tell them no, but he didn't get involved.
Arlen?
Yeah.
Hi. Do you know how much your grandfather paid for that house?
No, I think though there are records. The county keeps records of transfers.
My grandparents in Chicago Heights paid $6,000 for the house in 1923.
So it was probably in that it was in the same neighborhood when they live on the hill?
Fifth Avenue.
Fifth Avenue? Yeah.
But I also think that the other question, it would take in boarders in some way, they could take the boarders in, and that would, they'd save the money for the boarders to help buy the house.
Yeah.
The boarders and both families would live together, and you would all contribute to buying the house, so.
Yeah, and that gave the wife something to do, to cook and clean for the boarders, in addition to their own family. So that was a good subsidy.
So this is a very excellent resource. I mean, I love the way this is put together and all the documents that are in here, but do we know how to find, I mean, is there any tips on how to find all these documents that you found in newspaper articles and?
Well, no, you could never do that. No, I'm just an ordinary person. You go to Family Search, and they give you 10 places for almost any name you
So just
choose.
Ancestry.com, that's where you got a lot of this and?
Well, then, yeah, and with regard to Chip's Manifest, the Ellis Island records recorded just about everybody who came through Ellis Island, and you have the detail, their age and some other details about them, sometimes where they're going to or who they're traveling with and that sort of thing. And then, of course, there's some things that were in the family, some photographs or some documents that they left, but nobody did it in any kind of a studied way in terms of preserving documents. It's just what they had left over. They had the passports. They just kept them for you never know, and they were preserved and passed down. We got some detail from it, and there were probably a lot of important documents that they didn't keep. That if I had found them, I'd probably have put in there. So they helped write the story. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. From Hamilton.
You can find a lot of the stuff on like the National Archives and stuff like that. You can look NARA.
Also for Ancestry, I used to
National Archives.
subscribe until I learned that my I'm an owner in Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this will help a lot of you.
Yeah, so they got like census
Okay,
records.
speak up, please. One person at a time, please.
Yeah.
Okay, here I go. I want to say about Ancestry, I know the price is getting higher and higher, but check with your local library. I live in Oak Lawn, and I am able to access free of charge the library edition of Ancestry.
Yes.
And it's really a good research.
Okay, yeah, that's
So
a good
check with
alternative.
your local
Yeah, we
library.
don't have to. Also, in Chicago Heights, the librarian preserved the records of the court when people made a declaration of intent to become a citizen. These are first papers. There's a lot of detail on there. And the family, occupation, neighborhood, and people who vouch for you, they're also part of it too. So you can get that data possibly in your hometown if people stayed in their hometown.
So even here, I know you have, like my father grew up Division in Larrabee, St. Philip Benizi, all
Yeah.
that. So I think in the library here, don't you have a whole chapter on that, or no?
Our library here?
No.
Well, no, the Catholic Church records, that's another, you're an expert in Catholic Church records, aren't you?
Catholic records
That's where my family.
for Cook, for the Archdiocese of Chicago, those church, they were only microfilmed as late as 1915. So unfortunately, if you need anything later than that, you either have to contact the church itself, or if the church is gone or merged with some other church, then you gotta contact the Archdiocesan Archives on Monroe Street in Chicago, which I've never been to, but it's their job to keep that kind of stuff. And
St. Philip is.
And the Cook County has marriage certificates.
Oh, no, I know that, that's what I'm
Oh, I
saying.
didn't know.
But I thought I was upstairs, or, I don't know where I was, somewhere, and there was shelvings of books and pictures. Was that here? And you had a group of women cutting out all pictures and pasting them in albums? Or am I thinking of some other place? No?
Could be.
Yeah, also I think
Lou?
one of the advantages of suburbs is that a lot of suburbs have newspapers. And the newspapers talk in particular about the local community. If you're in Chicago, like, you'd have a general Chicago Tribune or whatever the newspapers were there, they would talk more generally about the suburbs. They would talk about, there's lots of times newspapers, there are archives that you can access, and they tell, who married who, and sometimes there's little stories about people and trouble in the factories and that sort of stuff. So depending upon where you're from, whether suburbs or in the city, you may find a lot of information about the background stuff. In a newspaper, there's a subscription you need to do archives, newspaper archives, but it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, the neighborhood newspapers in Chicago, I don't think are kept in there might be at the library in that part of the town might have kept them and have a record of them. But they're probably not searchable. I've been on a campaign to get the Chicago Heights Star digitized, so you can search on it like you can the Tribune. But there's, the newspaper records are another story, and you can use the Chicago Tribune to maybe help you find information in other newspapers too, because if you find a story in the Tribune on a particular date, chances are you can find the story in another newspaper at about that date. But I don't know, the Sun Times supposedly is digitized, but not that well. Okay, well, let's, is this going okay? You bored silly yet?
Nope.
Okay.
What is the agenda for today, Dominic?
What?
What is the agenda for today?
The agenda.
We're plowing through this book, and I'm making certain suggestions.
I mean, and then there's a break for lunch?
Yeah, the break for lunch, and then we can, I think we'll do some more discussion on how we can promote your projects and bring to fruition several published books on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Might write down US.
Okay, here's another
That's another resource I use.
bill that was paid of, what does that look like, 2691? Okay, well, this is the interesting thing. Between 1920 and 1922, this colorized photograph was done of my aunts and uncles. And this child died in infancy, but was portrayed in the picture anyway. And this is my mother, and this is my aunt, and this is my Uncle Tony. So it probably was fairly expensive. But and then there's an indication that the first Mary died. This is the first Mary died in the 1918 flu epidemic.
Quick question about your mother. Do you know when did she got recognized that she was a U.S. citizen? Was that soon after she came with her parents, or?
Yeah, her father was a citizen when she was born. Jeanette in 1905. She was born in 1909, and I don't know that she had any citizenship papers. She had his papers, I guess.
Oh, okay. So she never.
She was born
That
here.
early, it would have been grandfathered in.
So this picture is so interesting because I've seen this in my family too, where if a child's died, they've put the child in. So this is super confusing for genealogists. Because we see these children and we deduce how old they are and because of what year they were born. And I'm like, who in the world is this? You know, this doesn't make sense in our puzzle, but then you figure it out.
Yeah, my mother explained that to me. I don't know, I certainly wouldn't have known it without it being explained.
So is that child, are you saying that child in that photo is not necessarily that child? It's a representation of the child?
No, it's the child.
It's the
I mean,
child.
his, yeah.
I've seen that where a dad has died, and they put a man in the photo, and then they superimpose the face of the dead husband. I mean, not when he was dead, but obviously when he was alive.
Sometimes.
Right? And that's just,
But you know,
I mean, I get it.
all that's some nice jewelry, lockets or something, and they're enhanced photos. And this is my mother's junior high graduate diploma. It's this big.
Oh, goodness.
And then I talk here about my mother's role in the family. She came to America when she was 5 years old. And she went to, of course she grew up speaking Italian, but she spoke English without an accent because she went to school. And she was like a lot of immigrant children. She had the role of being a translator and negotiator with people with the English language speaking world for their family. And there's a story about her where she decided that her sister, Mary, even though she was still 5 years old, belonged in first grade, and she took her to register for first grade and got away with it. And so she ended up graduating from high school when she was 16 years old. My mother, on the other hand, although she was born in 1909, didn't graduate until 1926. She would have been, what? 17 years old when she graduated from junior high. What was that all about? It was never explained to me, I don't know. But my mother played the role of babysitter for the family while her mother was out working. And this is a picture of my mother and a favorite cousin of hers, Antonio Petrogelli. He's probably the one who did the, well, we'll talk about it later. And here's something, a Chicago telephone directory of 1930. I looked up the Giannetti family. I found Lawrence Giannetti at this 4346. That was their number. And I remember when phones were few and far between, and their party lines, and those were the days. But they were well enough off to pay for a telephone. So that's something. And let's see, the 1930 census, it showed my grandfather's income as $3,000. He's working at the brickyard. They're still living in the same place. Here I instruct people to use a magnifying glass to view the website or enlarge the image on the computer. No Borders in 1913. So then there's some directions on how you can find this thing. Just go to Family Search, enter Lorenzo Giannetti, Chicago, and choose the census record for 1930. Okay, now this is going to the other side. Now that's a question: how much attention, how much detail do you give to what side of the family? If there are parts of the family you don't like or care for very much, you leave them out, or what's the story? I focused on my father's family, and here is a report, a summary report of what happened in 1925. And my father was apprehended as a stowaway on a ship from Santiago, Cuba. The name of it was Manatee, and he was found in New Orleans. And there's a description of him. Now that's the summary card, and this is the actual manifest for it. And this is kind of hard unless you have the magnifying glass to get all the detail. But it has his name, and has he came from Santiago, Cuba. It's in New Orleans, the actual date. He is listed as a stowaway, and the town that he's from is Casa. All this checks out. And then he had $0 with him at the time. And as I mentioned before, this wasn't the end of the story. I had always wondered, how did he get to Chicago then? Did they just let him go? And I assumed they just let him go. But no, they deported him. And I found this out in the latest records that I got from the 1940s. But 2 weeks later, he just took that same ship and went to the same port and got away with that. And, I never learned how. That's another reason why you should cherish your relatives and ask them for all the details of their adventures.
When he did the second time, he wasn't a stowaway, or was he the second voyage?
Well, maybe he pretended he was a passenger. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the...
I got a quick question for Dan on those Ellis Island records when you say how many dollars they have in his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Is that American dollars, or would he still have lira in his pocket or not?
Probably would have been American dollars. They would have exchanged the script probably, or the money getting on the ship, and anybody who did math later on figured out that they got ripped off during those exchanges. But you had to have a certain amount of money, because it didn't do you any good to come in with lira. You had to have money to buy, transportation from Ellis Island or whatever port to the place you were going.
Mm-hmm.
And some people got on the boat with, $20 or $30 equivalent, and then decided they were gonna play cards and win a little extra, and they ended up losing. Or people had the money ripped off from them in the ship, and when they got off, they didn't have enough money, and they had to stay at some sort of facility until money could be wired to them. My Polish grandmother and her kids, they didn't have any money when they got off the boat, and they had to stay for 7 extra days at the luxurious Hotel de Ellis Island.
Yeah, and I underline here and in bold, there has to be a rich, dramatic story behind these documents, but it is lost. Why? Is it lost? He never volunteered the information, and I never asked. So let that be a lesson to you. Ask. Here's the some more information about how he might have gotten to Chicago. I have no idea how he got to Chicago, but he did begin working with this Andrea Capua, and the Capuas were cousins to my grandmother, and they eventually visited Chicago Heights. Here's a little bit about my father's situation. For some reason, he kept his First Italian State Bank account, bank book, and he has. I took this and I looked it up in the Tribune, Historic Tribune, the First Italian State Bank, and this is what came up: a story about the bank shy of 170,000, 3 in custody, wife, 2 sons missing, and then I matched it up with claim filed October 9th, 1931. So he must have lost $155 at least that were still in the. But this was the time just before he got married. So, but he had. Here's his bank book, his statement. He had a couple $100 in the bank. He does not appear in the 1930 census, and that's probably because he was without papers. So there's something you could hook together this Italian State Bank and the fact that they went out of business, and then that story in the Tribune. And here's the original wedding invitation, and a small picture of them, the church that they got married in. That was a basic church, Italian Catholic church in town, and a couple of statements about their loyalty toward public schools. And then from Joseph Orr, here's something everybody in Cook County can get. You get the a marriage license, and if you look carefully, the name's screwed up, and but it does have the information about this. Must have been ex post facto, I guess. That's 1931. I can't see the date on that. In November 1931, Cook County marriage license. I misspelled their names, but it does have information about the priest. And this was the wedding picture. This is 1931. My father's an illegal alien, and he's a construction laborer who's probably out of work. Yet they got married, and I don't know how to turn this for you, but you can turn it in the book. And And still they had these elaborate weddings. What's the story behind these elaborate weddings? Well, I don't really know, but when I was growing up, the wedding was the most important social event of the year, or maybe of your life. And they paid a lot of attention to it. People made a business of it, the photographers, the tuxedo rental people, the Italian wedding bands, the dressmakers, and all that sort of thing. And they saved up for it. Plus, the wedding was a benefit. People brought money gifts to pay for the extravagance, the once in a lifetime extravagance. And of course, it was reciprocal. You had, these are some of the other pictures of the wedding. And they tell me that my mother always said that she had doves coming out of the cake at the top, and they cut it, that it was from Ferrara, and that makes sense because my father was oriented toward Taylor Street when he was in Chicago in those days, just before the wedding. So I have a piece on wedding customs that takes from some material that I've written before, but there's a little talk about the peanut wedding here. There's a talk about Italian couples during World War II gave up their gold wedding rings for Mussolini so that he could attack Ethiopia. Nothing like that happened in my family, but there's a story where 3,000 Italian couples here will be remarried with rings sent, with steel rings sent from Luce in return for their golden rings sent to him. Imagine that.
Was that more popular in Europe than here too?
Well, the same thing in Italy. They did the same thing in Italy and other places where there were Italians. My family, I think they were too poor though to give up their wedding rings to anybody. And then this might be the most important and unique part of my family history. And this is a record of the transactions that took place with regard to the wedding, the expenses of the wedding celebration, and a registry of all the gifts that were given. Now, this is an example of what Lou Corsino has introduced me to, and that is social capital. These people were members of a club that kept a close record of who gave what. There were a lot of $5 there, some $3, a total of 85 for that one line. They kept close records. And then this looks like it's a record of what was given for the shower, the wedding shower. Gown, and everyone is listed, Flavia Maley. These were paesani and relatives, and the biggest donor was Nardoni Natale e Maria, $20.
Wow, they were rich.
Well, I did the inflation rate, and 1931, a dollar would buy, $1 from 1931 would buy $20 today.
Wow.
So a $20 donation is a $400 donation. And so we'll multiply everything by 4. As to what it is. Now, this represents an obligation for the future. They knew that they were solemnly obligated to bring the exact same amount, or the exact same amount plus a little bit of inflation, if you had inflation, to these people when their time came to be celebrated. And here is this is a list of the expenses. And I went through this. There's 190 porchette days. So they had 190 something, and then they had 80 chickens somewhere. And I figured out they must have had at least 200 people there for dinner. And this is 1931, the depths of the Depression. Father's probably out of work. His bank account, the bank failed. But they went forward with it anyway. And then here is another list. This is what people did. General linen supply, they had $707.40 worth of that. And it was paid just a couple days after the wedding. So this is something, who would have thought that this notebook would be important or interesting or photographable or what? But I teased a lot of conclusions out of this that might be right or wrong. But this next accounting is the rent subsidies that were received by the family during this 1933, 35, 4, 5, and 6. We were on relief, and here's the proof of it, the total accounting for it. And so that's something, a wake-up call for us. And this next one, and this illustration is the Hughes book for the Amazeno Society. Once a month on Sunday morning, people would go in and pay their dues. They had a meeting of the society. Interesting to note that that was in competition with going to Mass. Mostly the men attending, but men and women were members of this Alexander Society. And what did these societies do? Well, when you got sick, they might send a doctor that they had made a contract with for their members. And this was the doctor who would come to your house, make house calls. And so in Chicago Heights, in my childhood, it was Dr. Rossini, the Italian doctor, who was not the preferred one in our minds. We wanted the American one, and who spoke only English, and etc. But Dr. Rossini was available and did make house calls, and he would stay for an hour or so, maybe more. And he'd always ask you to boil the water or something. I don't know what he did with the boil.
Was this a national organization?
No, it was just people from Amazeno who come from that small town that we looked at in the first few pages. And it was lodge number 3. There was one in Chicago, and there's the original lodge of Open Eye, of workers. It was, before Social Security, it was something, and there's a death benefit too. Like, I'm still a member, and when I die, I'm gonna get $1,000. So that's something to look forward to.
Dominic, I have a question. Page 54, on the right-hand column, there's a few of these people that, according to the page, there's no dollar amount next to them. I I take it that that's because the age of the page, you see it down and to the right.
Oh, yeah.
Those people didn't just give nothing, that's because the paper itself had deteriorated over the decades.
Yeah, they probably gave less than $5, because it starts at the highest.
Well, you see Totale is 6 napkins, and on page 53, there's 6 napkins on the bottom right of that page, so the paper deteriorated, but my mother saved hers from 1957, who gave what, and there were some people that were excised from the family from her because they didn't bring any money to the
Oh,
wedding.
seriously, like it's dead to me.
Oh, yeah.
No, Bustine, they have to bring the Bustine.
When you mentioned that about the death benefit, I'm familiar with the Polish National Alliance, which has been a fraternal organization, kind of also an insurance company, around for years. Do Americans have anything like that?
Well, there's the Italo-American National Union that tried to do that, but mainly these were local, and they were based on the town of origin. And they gave you, if you went to the hospital, they might visit you, or they might give you $5 for going to the hospital. People in those days also, when you came home from the hospital, they visited you. And it was a way to get some insurance and some support. And also, they did some ceremonial stuff at your funeral. They come as a group at a particular time, or put the flags out, the flag of the organization out, or something.
How would you find them based on the town? How would you find whether the town your ancestors came from had a similar kind of organization?
I don't know. I suppose if you found in your records one of these books, because the book had like receipts for 20 years or something.
Which book do you mean?
Well, it's a booklet with
the dues,
with calendar pages on it, calendar-oriented pages, and then when you paid, they would mark down in your book that you paid and give it back to you. It's your receipt. So
you're saying your family would have to have something like this?
Family might keep that, yeah.
Yeah.
Or with the records of a funeral, there might be some indication that the Mutual Benefit Society was there. These kinds of organizations were popular on a lot of levels. I mean, the Odd Fellows, the Masons, this and that. The groups organized locally to kind of support each other. Now we have Social Security, which does a little bit of that nationalized.
Dominic, could it be that they'd be listed in that Italian-American business directory from the 30s? You have the copy in the library. Would these organizations maybe be in there, or would that be just for storefronts?
That was mainly for businesses, for-profit businesses. And typically, a single family or a single president dominated the society for a generation, maybe handed it down. They had some resources, but not a lot. There was an attempt in the 1920s to organize the Sicilian ones, and they were thought to be involved with the mafia. But generally speaking, they were an effort to socially confront hard times for the new immigrants.
A lot of these organizations still exist, because I'm an active member of one. And it's funny because the booklet looks very similar to the one that we still use.
Yeah.
Our organization was founded in 1914. Yeah.
Which is it?
And it's the name of the society is based on the Madonna that we worshipped in our hometown, Maria Santissima di Costantinopoli. But there's a lot of them out there right now. A lot of Barets, people that come from the Bari region, they all honor their specific Madonna, and they formed an organization like this back in the early 1900s when the men used to come over by themselves, and they would form some type of unity to keep them together, to keep them safe. And if someone got sick or hurt or whatever, they would work together and take care of each other.
And
So it was a mutual aid society.
My great-grandmother passed in 1906. She was only here 7 years. And she was buried at Mount Carmel. When I went to look up her record, the name of the society
There you
was
go.
on the card.
Yes.
That was responsible.
Absolutely, for
burial.
assisting her, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what
I
we
wanna go
did.
back because I lost the name.
No, yeah.
But, yeah, they were. It's
So
on
that was
the
the cemetery records then?
Yes.
At Our Lady of Mount Carmel, yeah.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
buried.
I suppose one project might have been for them to buy a bunch of lots and.
Well, they would assist the family to make sure that the person got buried safely.
Yes, true.
Yeah,
Now,
because
just
they
have a
were here
question
by
about-
themselves,
Finally
yeah,
found her.
yeah.
So the communities that were in Chicago Heights, were they from specific places in Italy?
Right,
Did-
exactly,
this-
yes.
This society, was it like a chain migration, these people were coming over with their relatives or friends? from the
Right.
Yeah.
community?
Well, yeah, these were the people who came from Amazzano in Chicago Heights, as I've detailed in one of the articles I've written. The main group was from San Benedetto del Tronto, and those people organized the Marchigiana Society. And that is still going, and I think I'm gonna get $1,000 from them too.
Are you still paying your dues?
Yeah. So what-
Then that's what it's all about.
20,000 in dues.
Not quite, not quite.
Over the decade.
No.
And then there were some others that came from San Benedetto, not San Benedetto, well, some from Abruzzo, and they might have organized, and it could be even a church group,
Right.
or it could be more religious, as you indicated,
Right.
or maybe not religious. Sometimes they would be the group that would take over the creating a festival, the Saints Street Festival.
And those are still advertised in Franoy.
Absolutely,
Oh,
yeah. And those are the organizations, yes, that they still exist.
And sometimes they made it into the newspapers.
They still play them.
Let's see, what's this?
Oh, you went back to 54 for my question, so you're at 50.
Okay, okay, well, and then this picture below is, that's my sister Angie, a cousin from Italy, one of the grandsons of Z. Filomena, and this is his sister. This is my aunt, my mother's sister, and this is my wife Carol. And this was the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Amazonese Society in 2013. And then an interesting thing happened to my uncle by marriage, Uncle Sam Bailey, the Chicago Heights Star. He happened to be at the corner gas station when some robbers came in and kidnapped him, and he went for quite a ride, and the whole story is there. And then this is a little bit from the census record of 1940 about the family that my Uncle Sam grew up in across the street. And I make a little comment about my experience with them, they were a step ahead of us in Americanization. And it wasn't always pleasant to interact with them because they always knew more, had more, had cars, knew how to get around in American society better than our family did at the time.
Did they put on airs?
What's
Did
that?
they put on airs and act a little superior?
Well, they could. I think that we were just people who were in different circumstances, and the implication was that they were better than we were, but of course, it ain't true. And I can't remember what this is because it's on its side. Can you check it on population? This is another of the, this is the 1930 census?
40.
The 1940 census, okay. I missed that by a couple of months, but here's the analysis that I have of the information there, with who was doing what, and they were growing up, and with various parts of that. Then we have my father's union book, union card, and he was a member of the hod carriers, building laborers group, number 5, and they were probably a very corrupt union, et cetera, et cetera. But I point out, after when he retired, he ended up getting a decent pension, and he was pretty comfortable. A $900 a month pension for over 25 years, so the money wasn't worth that much. And then these are celebrations of me coming into the world, my baptism. I was a little bit older when baptized because my uncle Tony was in the service, and we had to wait until he was available. But this brings back old memories of the old house, etc. Now, this is a very special picture, and if you turn it around on whatever page it is, the community gathered. This was 1944, maybe 1945. This is the Chicago Heights Hill community. A lot of them were from Almazano. Almost all of them were Italians of one kind or another. And these were the mothers and girlfriends and wives of boys who were serving in the military. And it is an important symbol of the contribution that Italian Americans made to the World War II effort. And it's also an ironic note that at the beginning of the war, Italians who had not acquired American citizenship, who lived in the U.S., were declared to be enemy aliens. It was only for about 1 year. They took that back, but it was, my father, for instance, was declared to be an enemy alien, and technically he was had to report any time that he moved from one county to another county. He couldn't own a gun, he couldn't own a flashlight or a radio, shortwave radio, or things like that. The fact of the matter is that there were so many Italian American young people who had come of age, of draft age at about 1941, 42, that they were needed for the war effort, and the policy of the administration softened on that enemy alien thing, and the Italian Americans, 1 million of them, or possibly, spent on average 36 months in the military becoming Americanized. think of yourself as being in the Army for 3 years, taken away from your hometown, and you're seeing the world, and all the people you're mixing with are not Italian anymore. Maybe sometimes, maybe not. But you're Americanizing. The food you're eating, all those things, you are Americanizing. And then, to top it off, when you get out, there's the GI Bill there to get a loan, to buy a house, and move away from the old neighborhood to a kind of nicer house. Or to get a more skilled job or something like that, or even go to college, a few of them did. So that's a big change in Italian-American society brought on by the World War II experience.
The Italians were the largest ethnic group in the U.S. to serve in World War II on behalf of America.
It's hard to say that for certain. They were one of the biggest anyway. Nobody has gone through all the list of the 15 million who served in World War II to see which ones had Italian names and which ones didn't. And if they didn't, were their mothers Italian? So I don't know. They didn't keep a record of who was Italian or where they came from. But the estimates, they're fairly good estimates, about 1 million out of 15 million. So 1 out of 15 soldiers was Italian.
Dominic, you say in this part here that there's a further identification. Do you have a list of the names of the people in this photo?
Yeah, I have it somewhere. I think it's on I might have saved it on a Google Drive, but I have it somewhere. This was given to me by Armin Gasbaro, and in the far left, with the red circle around them, are my 2 sisters, who were, I don't know, 10 and 7 or something at the time.
Oh, I would love to see that list.
I mean, this is a great symbol of Italian-American participation in World War II, and the community support that was given. You know, when you think of those women who were giving their gold rings to Mussolini in 1936, in 1943, 44, they were in this group here with the supporting their boys and showing the number of stars for the number of relatives that they had in the service. Does this thing move? Is it touch screen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I found something. Now, these are letters that my uncles sent to my sisters and to their parents from the military. And we have the dates here, and there's really not that much in them. They're kind of chit-chatty, sort of positive things. I'm okay, we're gonna get through this, we just have to be strong, and but I think this is an important dialogue. It is the people kind of reassuring each other. You know, when people kind of lie to each other about how good things are, they're not, it's not as bad as we thought, or we're going to get through this. So you kind of bolster each other and support each other in this nice social way. And you probably also filter out any bad news, and probably as far as some of this was probably censored, although imagine being the censor of letters that are going home from boys in the service. If everybody's writing a letter every day, that's like grading papers. Anyhow, but it does say here about my sister, I am now studying the same thing you had that you got operated on, and I must tell you from what I could about acute appendicitis and peritonitis. I must say, my sister Angie had an attack of appendicitis, and it was saved at the county hospital, and he's commenting on that. So you get some serious stuff, and there's Angie in what would have been the late 40s or something like that, on the front lawn. And here's a letter, Mom and Dad, and others. So it documents that sort of thing, and so this is a family portrait of the Candeloros, 1945. My father's citizenship papers and other family stuff around the front yard, 99 and 101 East 23rd Street. Sort of memories, nice little boy there. And you know, when I look back, I was a pretty good-looking kid. I didn't feel that way at the time. And my dog, the only dog I ever had for about 3 days, Idol. And then here's Angela, my grandmother. This is her obituary. And there are some of my memories like this. This is R-rated, by the way. I remember her as a very hard worker who fed us a lot of pasta batata chicken soup. And I remember she swore using cazzo so often that I thought it meant shit. I especially remember her for the gigantic Befana stockings that magically appeared at her house the morning after we did the chant. Some memories of the early 1950s. Our first car, well, that's not a picture of our first car, but I Googled 1953 Dodge, and this is what I got, so I put it in. And this is my sister Angie at graduation. She's as beautiful as any movie star. And she was the oldest in our family, and maybe she led us into Americanization. She got a job at an office as secretary to the president of the corporation. And she got me a job as an office boy there. My sister Rose is a job there. And she bought our first car and all that sort of thing. So she was kind of a leader in Americanization. And then some other pictures from the 1950s and memories of the backyard, my father in the backyard, the garden, and me being an idol again, and then some memories of high school and the house that we eventually lived in. My family, me and my wife and family lived in before we came to LaGrange Park, my graduation from junior high, my extended family in the 1950s, and my parents' 25th anniversary, and then some, these are all swinger shots. Remember the swinger? The Polaroid swinger?
Oh.
You're too young to remember the Polaroid swinger? This is my mother celebrating my father's recuperation from an accident. And then some blank pages, and then I go to the second and third generation. And things get a little bit more prosaic here. We have some stuff, family groupings, who had what parents, and from my, mostly on my mother's, these are my mother's siblings and their children. And so that's kind of a preview, and then we go into each of the families, Sister Felicia Bailey, her family, some pictures of the folks in that group. And these are obviously more contemporary pictures, and a lot of them are taken from the scrapbooks that Carol arranged. And then again, another obituary. Often people save obituaries, so you can include them. And for some reason, I happen to have the driver's license of Aunt Phil that after she died, was turned up in my drawer, and I threw that in there. And here's the Giannettis. My Uncle Tony, he's the oldest, and I have a listing, a 1940s listing for the young couple there, and some more pictures of my Uncle Tony in the Navy, and his extended family, and then we go down to the new generations, the Wilsons, and this is my mother's other sister, and Mary and her family. This is Carl's Santori's registration for the draft. He was great because he had the best handwriting ever, and so we get all this information about where he worked. He worked at the Rouse store and all that, and some other memories of these in that part of the family. And finally, this is my Uncle Renzi's family, and then my sister and her family, and we continue, and then the author's family tree, and this is our 50th wedding anniversary at the height of COVID, and our children. I kind of and then I have an essay in English about the whole thing. It ends with my grandson, Matthew, works on the school paper at Lyons Township, and he wrote this thing about La Befana, the tradition of La Befana in our family, and that's it. So we have a lot of family trees. You can start your work today by doing a family tree. Who are you? Who are your parents? Who are your parents' parents? Who are their parents' parents' parents? And the parents' 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 parents. So you can start by doing in pencil the first time. And so this is not a masterpiece that you have to slavishly copy. It's one man's take. And I like to think I'm special, but I'm not. I have some talents. I have many shortcomings, and I'm sure that you're as capable or more capable than I. Do we have any lunch?
Yeah, well, I've been informed lunch is ready, so whenever you want to make
Okay.
the transition.
This is an excellent resource and some great ideas in here. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, afterwards we'll go over and discuss how we can apply some of these to your situation.